Hello guys, welcome to the Train Parrot into another episode of the weekly private TA sessions. These are sessions that we host on Thursday every single week. These are private sessions and all elite members from my Patreon community are invited not just to be part of the session live while I'm doing the TA, but also to vote for the coins that they want me to do TA. This is very improvised, so the list of coins, I get to know it right before going live and we do TA of all coins, Bitcoin, even sometimes some people ask for Forex or stocks or anything, total three, weird combinations of charts, anything that you want. And of course, I have you right here in the conversation. So if you want to ask any questions during the session live as an elite member, of course, you get that perk. If you want to join this, we do it once a week and the link is appearing right here on the screen. You can also find my Patreon link in the description, although you need to join as an elite member. That's one of the perks of the second tier. And we do also every last Thursday of the month a session that covers PineScript, which I think is going to be next week, if I remember right. So possibly next week, we're going to be doing PineScript a little bit more technical, how to edit PineScripts, how to write your own strategies and stuff like that, more related to trading bots in that case. And so without further ado, we're going to look into what we have in the menu for today. We have Farcoin, we have Bittensor TAO, we have a new coin that I've never seen before. It's called SAROS. Then we have Solana, ICP, Cardano, PENGU, XRP. I noticed yesterday that PENGU was the coin overperforming the most so far in the last 90 days Bitcoin. So I'm interested to see that chart today. XRP, Aptos, Avalanche, Render, Chainlink, Ethereum, and Pi. Remember, guys, that we have 3 coins in here that you guys added into the list, but no one voted for them. Therefore, they're not competing today. So I'm going to focus, obviously, from priority list. The ones at the top are going to get a bit more love, although Farcoin, I don't know if we're going to get enough history or enough data to show, but well, I'll do my best to give more love to the top 3 to 4, 5 coins, and then I'm going to go faster as we go down the list. So let's get started with Farcoin. I have it here on my chart on the weekly time frame. How is the sound? How's everything? I can see, hi Mariano, someone is connected, so all good, perfect, no technical issues. Farcoin is showing some very bullish patterns at the moment. Either of them can break out if we go beyond $1.5. A closing price, of course, on the weekly or on the daily beyond that can give us 2 specific targets that I have in mind. One of them I already showed it last week, which is I was speculating if with this bull flag that we were forming here, if we can actually complete the journey into 1.6. Actually, it's not 1.5, it's 1.6. I left this red line in here. If we can do that, we are in a very good position because that means that we have completed the full shape of the cap and handle. That's number one. That's on the weekly. And if I drop the time frame to the daily and let's focus on the price action, you're going to see that we have a pretty interesting pattern in here, right? So it's kind of a head and shoulder. It really doesn't matter. You need to kind of look at it and allow some flexibility with the pattern. This is a bullish pattern because it kind of went down, it formed higher highs, it reverted the trend, it came back to the neckline, and now it's going to test that 1.6. And if we break that 1.6, we're going to get, of course, a smaller target relative to what we have on the weekly, right? So on the daily, we have a target of 236, and on the weekly, we have that target of almost $3. So let me remove this line in there. So those are the 2 targets that I'm seeing at the moment. Of course, we are not claiming that this is breaking out yet. It is a neckline that needs to be tested, and you need to successfully put either a daily close above it for the target of 236 or a weekly close above it. So let's have a look at how things are on the momentum, because one of the reasons we were placing this red line in there is because we were already experiencing some breakouts in here. So the line is a little bit off. It should be something like this. So we could say that the first breakout was in July, but since it's a meme coins tend to fake out a lot. They're all over the place. Bitcoin tends to be the one that still does fake outs, right? But way less than a meme coin. And in this case, you can see that we fake out. We found support somewhere in here. We could say that, that broke down all the levels and we are allowing allowing for this to expand a little bit further thanks to that extreme volatility. But clearly, I can see that there is a channel now to the upside. It's very obvious after the second breakout, and now we are at 66. On the weekly, it's gonna be almost impossible to do anything, but let's have a quick look in here. So the previous high was of 59, and it would be really, really positive if we could close this week like this or more, right? So beyond that level, because that puts a pattern that is, like the full end, but with the second end higher than the previous one, a higher high. And that invalidates the potential in here to form a double top. Of course, we don't trade this on the RSI, but I'm just saying we don't want to form at the same highs in here with an ugly rejection there, because that's how it's going to end up looking if we get another rejection from 1.6. So if 1.6 now sends us back into 1.2, well, of course, the RSI is going to be below. If we close above 1.6, probably we're going to get that result on the weekly RSI as well. Areas to look for. Well, we have the highest ever amount of longs on Farcoin, but it's not very overheated in terms of numbers. So relative to the whole history, yes, it's the highest it's been, but you know that this can get into 90s, right? So we don't have a lot of reference in here. So I'm going to drop the time frame to daily and see where we are, which is something that we always should do, drop to daily and see how things are when magnified. I normally don't have that much time to do every single data point in every altcoin video, but if you have access to this indicator, which is the longs, let me show you the name. It's called the Delta Longs Shorts. It's part of the package of indicators premium in the shop on Patreon. You can drop it to any time frame. I think the lowest is like the hour or something. And on the daily, we have less longs than in all this period in here. This starts from May, and we pinch areas of value on 9th of July. Yeah, that definitely was an area of value with that fake out. We enter in an area of value. Before that, we were in an area of value at 37 and at 36, as you can see there on the daily. In terms of socials, I'm seeing that something interesting, that we see the coin being at the neckline, we see the breakout, we see things looking very bullish from the technical point of view, and the socials are coming down. That is something that I'm not seeing with other coins. It's not very significant, right? So from being 1%, being 0.7%, but kind of the trend is down, like less people are talking about this. And that could be that there are other meme coins that are overperforming Farcoin at the moment, maybe PENGU or some of those other weird ones that I don't really trade. Or it could be that overall the meme coins are not necessarily now taking the big spotlight in crypto, right? Because we have Bitcoin putting an all-time high, and we all know how is the flow of cash on the altcoin. So it goes into Ethereum. We're getting Ethereum running very hot. So it's turning faces, and the meme coins tend to take the spotlight once we are about to top. Okay, it's kind of the last things that pops. At least that's been the trend in all history. There's been periods, this particular cycle that sucks for all coins, where the meme coins took a long time, where they were the only thing that you can trade really, and that's a consequence of retail not being here. There is not enough liquidity. There's too many altcoins, and then people didn't have any other thing to trade than meme coins. So they jump into the meme coins, and there was a meme coin that they started calling super cycle and all that crap that no one believes. Then we have, let's go into the next coin. Before that, I had some liquidation levels on Farcoin. We have one at $1, which is clearly now your risk, right? So you are in profit at 1.5, or you're looking for a short. Remember that 1.6 is resistance, right? So someone technically could say, we're not gonna break out now. I'm gonna take a short, and I'm gonna target $1 from here. Or you could say, well, Ethereum is pumping. I'm gonna wait for the breakout to consider to keep my position on this coin and rally it longer. I wouldn't trade that breakout, because that breakout is the moment of the decision, and really no one knows whether in August and July we're going to get a little bit of a shakeout before we rally into October, or if we are going to continue rallying as we are doing now and then potentially see less performance in October. Usually October is Aptober. Let's look at CoinGlass Legend. That is giving me better readings than the liquidations directly on CoinGlass. This is new on CoinGlass. It's also free. You got some liquidations on 155, 156, and 165. Of course, those are coming from these long wicks to the upside. Below the price, the largest one is 1.4. But if we look 3 months back in time, definitely between 1 and 1, that's the biggest one, and I don't have trading difference, so I'm just gonna leave it in here for this particular coin. Oh my god, why I don't get the live video? I don't know. Maybe Jose, have a look if the video is not working on a separate tab, but I cannot check. So Bittensor, let's go with the next coin, and we have it on the weekly time frame. Let's do a little bit of a look in here. So on the weekly, we recently have in May a hidden bearish divergence, so that already play out. We have some two pivots on the momentum, and we are expanding, getting into the same high of 55. We need to conquer this neckline, the previous neckline, and now resistance. We are in an area where everybody's been trading for a long time, so pretty much all the point of control probably is around here, around the $400, and we need to break 433. That is kind of what we need to do next. So this pattern is also bullish, right? So we have a neckline that we already failed, but we are back to the scene of the crime. We want to break it now, and we got a target on Bittensor that if we can break, we can get into the $731, which is the highs of December. So with this pattern, we are aiming for that, right? The size of the pattern allows us to get as high as that. That is not guaranteed, of course. That's just the technical target, okay? What else do we got? We have, why do I have an RSI target in here? That doesn't make any sense. So probably that's from the previous chart. Longs versus shorts are slightly below, and they are reclaiming 43. So that is a sign of bullishness with a potential breakout of the longs in here. And that could bring them back maybe into 60 and allow us to move into 600, maybe halfway through into the full technical target. So into 586, we could say. We could also see a rejection at 55, in which case we need to find support at 48. So from where we are, we need to really defend that 48 in case we fail to break this neckline, the 440. So I say 48. Let's put some support in here. Yep, like that. And where is 48? Ah, okay, perfect. That's a 350 is in confluence with that support and with this volume that is right there at 350, 348 to be precise. So we need to defend that. If we do that, if we do it, let's say with a rejection, I'm just speculating what if we get another rejection from there. You know, we ideally want to defend this trend like this and then do it on a third attempt. I don't know if the second one is going to succeed. Of course, we are just speculating here. If we break out, we can go into 583. If we fail, let's defend 379. You know, it's all about uncertainty. So let's try to see within those uncertainties what are the things that we need to respect to still stay bullish on TAO. If you want, you know, the real big targets for altcoin season, we have 765 is the extension of 1. The extension of 1618 is 1.129. So that is obviously we need a proper altcoin season. Let's go into liquidation levels, and I'd like to see them here as well on Binance. Right, so we have a decent accumulation of liquidations around the $400. So I will say defending, just going to $400 is a sign that we're going to do the attempt to break the 440 sooner rather than later, and just going there. Of course, going into the support on the weekly that I mentioned, that's going to delay a bit things. And we have a big liquidation at 311. I hope we don't need to go that low, because that kind of cancels out the full move up. Can we recover from that? So let me think. 311. You always have to put the patch before, how is it in Spanish? Ponerse el parche antes de la herida. No sé, I don't know how it is in English. 311 is around here. Yeah, it's a little bit of a gray area to get there, I would say. So obviously the most bullish is to stay around here, very close to the resistance. Then on the weekly, 378 is still bullish, but after we cross this volume and we start going beyond that, we are risking to go into the previous support of 250. And at that point, it's going to look again like a bearish structure on the weekly, because we take the $300. And 311, by the way, is here. It's still a higher low. But since we go that deep and we are in an area of low volume, we are risking to slip down into 250. At that point, we break fully the structure. So watch out for those areas of concern. Let's go with the next coin, which is SAROS. Let's see what we got in here. Never seen this coin. USD. It's listed on HTX on USDT. And like this, yeah, it seems to be listed just here. It's been for weeks since January 2024. And let's see if there's any news. SAROS major upgrade, that's in March. Yeah, nothing specific about that. So let me see if I can do some TA because it's running very hard from the lows. It's what? 50,000%. My God. Imagine you entering here with $1,000. Well, it will be fantastic. But it's very difficult to pick these coins. That's definitely not my area of expertise to find these things. They move pretty much based on socials. But we have some structure in here at least that we can analyze on the weekly. We are in an area, look at what it's doing. So that's typical of this low cap. They are breaking rules. So you have this bearish divergence in here from an RSI of 96 on the weekly. Okay, this should have stopped in here. If it was Bitcoin, we will stop around here at 80 something. But no, this is a low cap. So it gets to touch 96 to put a bearish divergence, and from that position to still break out again. My God, these people are so degen. They achieve these things just with so much leverage. This one is breaking out on the weekly from 83. Now it's at 89 with a higher high relative to this, and potentially putting a new high. How it's gonna break the resistance of 100 and it's gonna get to RSI of 150. I want to see that. In terms of support, let's see if there's been any damage in here. So yeah, there is already some damage. So we have the bearish divergence and this broke down. Now it's doing what we call a revenge rally, which is to break out from here and meet with that lost support. And that could, I don't know, maybe reach 93. I will expect it, guys. And if we were talking about a normal asset, we should be expecting this to break down weeks from now in the past. But since it's a meme coin, maybe it can get into 93 and put a lower low. Now, if this is really manipulated, it can get higher still. So don't use this, please, to take a short and then blame me because the coin is completely crazy. Just be careful. Socials is kind of getting quieter in here. We're getting to the low end of attention and it's still rallying. That is nonsense. It should attract a lot of retail now because it needs to dump. The whales need retail to look at this and so they can dump. So 93, how high can this go? And again, if you are big in profits, run. I wouldn't even wait for that 93 myself. I will just take my profits and run. 93, gosh. So getting from here into an RSI 93, it's a 200%, getting you into $0.6. So you have to decide whether you take out your money from this immediately or you wait for a 200% that could end up turning into an 80% down too, right? And once they do the rack pool, assume there's going to be a rack pool on this. Anyways, let's go into the next coin. It was fun to do that one. Any questions about this coin? We got some questions as well. It's working the video. That's great. Dwab Quantum, I don't know how to pronounce that, and QBTS. So we're going to do those ones at the end of the video, guys. Your questions have precedence, but I need to at least cover a good amount of coins that are in here. Next one is Solana. Let's do it on Binance. And, many coins are hitting that neckline in here, which is a bullish pattern. It's a cap and handle. The neckline in this case, 180. And yesterday I put out a video doing an in-depth of Solana. So I encourage you to watch that one because it's going to be definitely more comprehensive than whatever I can say now live. But 180 is something that we need to break out. Of course, we need to get into the golden pocket into 200. So we can say that Solana hasn't only done a dead cat bounce in here because this as a double top, can throw you back down and break the lows of 120. It can get dramatic. And Solana hasn't behaved as good as other coins that are even all top market caps again, but they have already achieved these areas in here or even higher. But Solana is just trapped in here. So let's break 180. Let's get into 200. Let's convince everybody that Solana is not in a position of weakness relative to the rest of the market. When it comes to the RSI weekly, we have that resistance of 56, which is also a resistance horizontal. So that's where I want to see Solana breaking out in here and not just being a rejection with new lows. And that happens at RSI 56, which is located, let's do it like that, which is currently located again at $182. So it's consistent with what price action is doing, this descending trend line on the weekly. And we are seeing again the longs stepping in, potentially to break out the all-time highs of longs, which is something that I say I'm prepared to be wrong. I'm prepared to break the statistics in here because that's the only way up for the price on Solana, right? So there are other ways. One way is we crash the longs, so we push the price lower and we shake off the excessive longs that we have in here that are sitting at all-time highs of longs. But for that, we need really the price to make a move even bigger than this move from 187 to 126, because that move down didn't shake out the longs, right? We moved down in here. Sorry, am I looking at the right thing? Yeah, I am. So this move didn't shake off any longs. They were very persistent. Even if we came back to 127, they say, well, let's be underwater, but I'm gonna hold on to my position on Sol because we are going higher. So for a market maker to shake off the longs, it needs to move the price below 126. It needs to really punish them and then enter from lower, or it needs to break all-time highs and accept them and carry on into the 80s in a crowded environment. That's why I don't like the setup. But you do what you have to do. I'm just seeing data that the source might be wrong, and that leads me to misinterpreting it, right? No financial advice, definitely never been. In terms of socials, it's at 10%. So other coins are getting now bigger attention, including Ethereum, and Solana is just sitting in the background. So one theory I have is that once Ethereum gets to a top, there's going to be a rotation back into Solana, and in that way we can get Solana to perform better, because there's always this drama between the two elder siblings, right? So we got Solana and Ethereum trying to conquer the top, and there's always a flip going on between these two ecosystems. The one that is the old one that is expensive and slow, and Solana is the new one, but that has some fat around it as well, whether you want it or not. That is kind of the fight that there is. Let's look at liquidation levels. Let's step up into swing here on trading different. We're getting very close to that liquidation, and that is one of the reasons why we could still get those longs to get into new all-time highs, because in order to get to $200 we need to accept the longs, and there's been shake-offs, but they are very sticky, so they didn't go anywhere with this breakdown in here, and we continue to rally with revenge against this trend line, and it continues to go higher. So there is still a chance that we go into $200 without that move down. I will prefer to wait for the move down if you are sitting on your hands, and if you are in a long already, I will tighten my stop loss, as I say in the video yesterday. Even if you think that it's for granted to get 200, I will say it's not, with so many longs in the way. Right, next coin. If there's any question about Solana, you can also drop it in the live comments. And ICP, I think it's Internet Computer, isn't it? Let's do it on Binance. Okay, so we got some bullish patterns in here. It's a little bit different than the other coins that we saw before. Let's focus on the price. We got a double bottom in this case. It's not necessarily a cap and handle this time, but it's also bullish. Let's place it like this. You got there, right, the neckline at 5.8, potentially with target of 7.2 for that breakout. Then we are facing this resistance immediately after that. From where we are is a move of 26%, and of course the risk is to take the lows at 4.1. And if we can break, so let's imagine we complete this and we get into 7.2, then we get a larger double bottom. That one, I want to see how high it can go. So let's measure this. We get the next technical target into $10, getting closer to 10.8, which was this high in July. Okay, ICP has lower highs in December, so realistically we should place a line like this and see what happens when we get into this point. So let's assume for a moment that Bitcoin carries on up and we break out in here and we get to $7, and suddenly everybody jumps on ICP and we break out from 7.2 and we manage to get into $10. At that point, we're meeting again with the old bastard in here that pushed us down, right? So we got one push down, one from lower, and we could get another one from $10 lower. That is the current risk, because this coin is underperforming the rest of the market. back. We have lower lows relative to July in May, and we haven't taken the lows of October at the very least. There are coins that have done even worse than this, but you have lower highs as well. So adapt your expectations. Don't fully surrender. Don't fully give up on getting to new highs and stuff like that. That's still doable. If something shifts for this coin, we could still do some bullish targets, and we could say an extension of one can get you into $22, or you can get into the golden pocket. Where is my golden pocket? Trading View is so funny. I never put these levels, and it's always improvising, bringing new levels, unless I'm secretly sharing the account with someone else. $22 and $33. So those are very bullish targets. If you are really, something, or someone within the company, that can reach those levels. But so far, it's been a massacre. Look at where are we coming from. This is crazy. I cannot believe on listing. This must be something wrong. There must be something really wrong here. How can it be 2.8K and now we are trading at $5? And this is on Binance. Really weird. Anyways, let's compress this and let's focus on the price action in this area. So I will say let's focus on the 5.8 breakout to $71. That's step by step. Then if we can break that, if we can get into $10. Now, if we break the $10, then we are going to probably get a global breakout on the weekly. And we are reclaiming support on the weekly, which is really bullish. After all this time in here, you can see that we are coming back into 46. Next resistance is at 52. That is something that we need to figure where it is. 52 for the weekly is resistance, and it's currently at $6.4. It's not very far. So we could do a global breakout on ICP if we go beyond 6.4, and then we can see how it goes. With longs and shorts, we are at 53. We are in the median, so there's no area of value to buy, neither extremely overpopulated longs. Socials are just going sideways. And in terms of liquidation levels, ICP, right. So we got a liquidation coming in at 6.252, and right below the price at 5.6, we have a large liquidation. Below that, there's nothing as substantial at the moment. We can see the 4.6 and the 4.2 on the heat map. I will say that is the risk of the failure of the double bottom pattern. Let's go with the next coin. It's going to be Cardano. I haven't covered this in depth in a while, probably a week ago. And there's not much really creativity with the coins. They are either doing a cap and handle, or they're doing a double bottom, and they are challenging that neckline as Ethereum is rallying, and they are in preparation for a potential rotation. How do you get the rotation? Well, you need Bitcoin to behave, and you need Ethereum to behave. It's not just about Bitcoin. If you're new in the space, in this cycle, Bitcoin has been behaving well. Ethereum has been misbehaving pretty much the whole cycle. But in previous cycle, the thing was Bitcoin, then Ethereum, and as long as those stop pumping and start going sideways, they allow room for the rest to start popping. Let's see if now that's going to be the case as well. Double bottom at 82 cents. Then we got this bump in here at 1.1. We got resistance at $1. Let me see how things are looking. So this looks like a very bullish breakout. And on the RSI, we are now approaching my target of 58. It's not a target, it's the next resistance. Let's see where that is located, how far we are from 58. That's 86. So it's basically targeting the same high as this high in here. But the difference is that ideally we should put a close in here. Not like these 3 rejections on the weekly, but instead of that, we put the candle right there at 86 and we stamp strong the floor saying, here we are going to continue going higher. We have a new high relative to this. We broke the resistance, and we broke the resistance on the weekly. So ideally, slightly higher than 86. 86 by the dollar, of course, is just testing that. At that point, if we close right at the resistance, it is already bullish, but it's always more bullish to break the resistance and to leave that candle to settle there on the week at 60, let's say. At that point, we start talking about repeating performance like this, to get into very high levels of 86. It's not for granted, but it's a condition. You cannot get to 86 if you don't prove that you have the strength. Then you prove you have the strength, and you need still to run the marathon. So that 86, it's let's see where it is. It's very bullish. It's gonna sound a little bit like crazy, probably. Is sitting now at $29. That's very crazy. I will look into, of course, the levels of resistance that I have already placed in the chart, but together with this ascending channel that we have in here, because we keep hitting the highs of those in this channel, and that comes up at 164 depending on at what time we reach that level. Then we have the extension of 1 on Fibonacci, which is kind of coinciding more or less with that ascending green line, and the golden pocket at 2.3, and then that degen top of the RSI channel at $3. What else? Longs are not necessarily overcrowded yet on Cardano. There's new people definitely, and social is still quiet relative to these highs. So not looking like too overcrowded to say, okay, we need to throw the towel and close that long. To enter, I wouldn't enter against that 58 resistance. Okay, that is an area of elevated risk, and we cannot take for granted that we're gonna break it. And let's look at the liquidation levels on Cardano. What's coming next? What did we already achieve? Wow, yeah, we did it. We did it. The breakout on the daily that we saw in the previous video in here, we say, what if we reach this bubble in here? And we are reaching that bubble on the daily almost today by the dollar. So that is a big resistance. Luckily for us, this RSI is saying that once we get into this line, we have slightly more likelihood now to reach the liquidity that starts from 87 into 97. It says that because the RSI already did it, and it precedes the price, and it did it in the right order. So it is kind of a bonus, and probability to getting here is never for granted, but it's always good to get those bonuses, right? If you play computer games, it's like if you are wearing a sword that is upgraded. So you get better chances to beat the enemy in here. And I will focus on 90 to something like this, because that $1, as I said last week, is less motivating than the liquidity that we have at the golden pocket. And of course, the golden pocket is going to be resistance as well, since we have this move down from here into this low. The golden pocket is to take that liquidity, and that's why I say last week, let's take that liquidity and let's not necessarily take for granted the $1. The 0.9 is a little bit easier to take. Of course, if we go into 1, then we need to start talking about the big price, but that big price has a big depression in there, so that is the risk that it might take longer really to get over $1 into 125 and take that big price. And let's go into the next coin. How much time do we have? 15 minutes. Okay, let's do PENGU very quickly. XRP. Ooh, they're all interesting coins. I'll see how far I can get. Okay, PENGU has managed to achieve the full pattern in here, the final resistance, and there is crazy amount of longs right here. And RSI has a bullish structure, but is calling for a pullback. So we need to focus on what happens if we break out from here, which is a very tough one, because all we have is this pattern, and that's it. There is not much more history. We have next resistance coming in at 40, and I'm gonna put a high at 47. I'm not gonna use the listing price because that's usually just a fake out. Yeah, it's interesting that it's breaking out so early as being a meme coin. It managed to do it. Potentially this week we could get a breakout in here, in which case we can look into 40 cents. If we see rejection from 31, we need to see what happens at 23 if there's a rejection. And I say like nothing, but that's 27 move down, and that could build the next leg down of this RSI that has already rallied from 38 into 66. So that's almost 30 move up, very intense, and the most intense move up in the whole weekly. Let's look at the daily to if we can see any pattern. Oh yeah, so there was a head and shoulder that broke down. That's the order block there at 31, and that is the current battle. So far this day was a disaster. It pushed us back down. It put almost a shooting start there, but we are still holding. The longs haven't given up yet. Some of them are closing, but there's still some likelihood that we carry on higher. And let's look at the daily RSI to see if we get any breakdown. Wow, not yet, not yet. So this is still holding very high levels. We pinched the top of the range and the PNR, and we should be looking for support on the daily at 78, 76, somewhere around here. If we hold that level, something like this, we could still push one more time and put a new high and get us out. But with all this effort on the daily, it's calling for a channel to the downside, and I wonder if that is just gonna do it as a bull flag below that weekly resistance. Let's go back to the price. So if the daily does that, ideally we want to see a bull flag form, somewhere in here, which is gonna be telling us that there's still appetite to do that. As we form the bull flag, we should lose and shake off as many longs as possible in here. So we get a bullish absorption consolidation right below resistance, and we can do another leg. We have 1, 2, and we could get a fifth way here, to be honest, because from the lows, yeah, that's what we've done. We've done the second move up. We can get the third, yeah, but thanks to a bull flag. Let's see the previous bull flag. This was the previous one with a retracement of 53%. Crazy to trade this coin. 53 from there is basically going into 15, more or less. That is the equivalent move to this. From here, you have to retrace to here. Crazy. And well, maybe you get into that level, and from there you do the next wave. But that looks a little bit more dramatic thanks to this big green candle. Notice if you don't do the bull flag there, you have huge fair value gaps in there to be consumed, and the volume is not there, so you can slip down into 15 like nothing. So that's why you need that recipe of sticking as close as possible to the resistance to survive it. I'm gonna go quicker with this. What coin was this? PENGU. Yeah, the top one in the performance. XRP. Good. We are about to hit all-time high in here. Let's see where we are. So the previous high was 34, and we are sitting at 326. We are looking into this target of 356 coming from this formation in there. We are hitting this resistance right here. I call it 71, but now it seems like we're gonna meet with it at 69. So let's see, where is that in the price? 69 for XRP, and that is 335. So a close beyond 335, and we are reclaiming support, and we could see further move up on XRP. An ugly rejection below 335 could spell fears into traders that we are forming a double top with 34, and therefore we might see a deeper correction into 274, maybe, to test that level, right? Because this is a breakout that has the option to see that weekly rejection there and then carry on like that. Or if you close beyond this, it could get really crazy, in my opinion, because at that point you are reclaiming the lost weekly support, and then you could do something like this, and then something like this, and then start going really nuts from there. It's already very impressive move on the other side. So try to find anywhere where we do that. Well, we did here. This was a move straight up of 47 points on the other side. So far we have done a move up of 21 points, so less than half what we did there. So XRP can really do very crazy things with all this retail watching videos about XRP all over the place. Longs are getting overcrowded, true. We already exit the area of value, the area where I say if you're into XRP, consider this area. Now we are getting into the first percentile and then the second. We're halfway between the two. Area of value again is 50 in here if you are looking for a reload, or where to, yeah, a reload of on a rejection on the weekly. If you want to continue holding, there is little room here for the longs to go higher, unless, okay, here is the devil's advocate word, unless we do the same thing as Solana, which is we get to the all-time high of longs and we get in areas of 80 or 90, and we surprise everybody. After all, think about this. From 22 into here, there hasn't been any altcoin season, not a single one. So getting into the statistics of that period could be a little bit skewed to being over negative if we get a positive altcoin season. That's kind of the devil's advocate here in place, slapping the conservative one. The conservative says, well, here we fail every time, so why are we not going to fail again? So you get two sides. And socials are coming down, interestingly. There must be some coins I haven't discovered yet. I need to go into the crypto screener and enable socials to see what the hell is calling so much attention that coins that are meant to be very popular today are not calling that much attention because they're pumping. I guess everything is pumping and they're competing with each other. Yep. Okay, so this is the daily on the swing chart. Here we have the daily breakout on XRP, and we got incoming the largest liquidation at 341. Watch out with that impact. Remember that impacting liquidity. Let's go first with the degens 25 and 10x. When you impact liquidity, you tend to have a reaction in the opposite direction unless you enter a short squeeze. And the short squeeze has got the anomaly that instead of the the market sells, pushing the price back down, you get snowball effect that buys the dip and continues to the upside, just like the gamma squeeze as well. But most of the time, you don't get a short squeeze. You just get a rejection from the liquidation level. And let's put the 5x, 3x, and let's focus just on what's coming. So we normalize it and we see the colors. We just hit a large liquidation. We got this leftover of 34, and then we get the $4, and that's it from the help of liquidation levels. After that, there could be price exploration, and you need to go naked into that, or using RSI, PNR of 89 and stuff like that. Let's see, for those degens that want to know, well, give me a really bullish target. If you are in need of that, 47 is the extension of 1 relative to this pump, right? So repeating that pump gets you into 47, and 1618, very bullish extension, is $67, which is from here an additional 45% versus an additional 102%. That's for XRP. And I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna cut here the list, and I'm gonna ask in the chat for one coin. So you have to write down in the comment, and I know that there are already some of the coins there, but I want to give privilege to the people that are watching the video live to pick the last 2 coins that I'm gonna do. And in the meantime, let's see how AT is doing. So if you're really watching the video, you can pick the coin and get spoiled. Aptos is still not touching the neckline. My God. Okay, so it's underperforming Aptos relative to the rest of the market. My neckline, I will say, is at 5.8, and it's not doing that. And we got lower low, lower highs. There's a huge, massive structure in here that could be forming, like this. I hope we don't need to get there, but if we form it with this and we get a rejection with a higher low, we could break out from this, because this is a bullish pattern. It is a bearish structure because it's coming down with lower lows and lower highs, but bearish structures, if they form a falling wedge, can turn the whole picture after completed into a bullish structure that can break out. And if that's the case, you can reclaim back the $18. So this bottom information in here needs to get into $10, maybe get another rejection into 6.5, and then exit into the top of the range. Let's go with the requests. So we got Link and Aptos. Will ever get out of the falling wedge? Well, it's a tough one, right? Because you've been defending this pattern of lower lows, and it's all about whether it's going to put something really bullish in fundamentals to justify exiting. So far, investors, every time that we get a high, they've been taking more and more profits, and that's why the longs went so low into 33. Now they seem to be back. We are at 71 now, and the pattern, it's looking decent in here. The momentum is even looking better than the price, and that is good, actually, because that's what we did in here, right? And that's what we need. We need higher highs and higher lows. We have equal lows, and now we are putting a higher high if we close like this week. I'm assuming that the intra-candle settles at 47 or higher, and if we do so, we increase our chances to get into 56. That's the point of contact. Let's say 57, and 57 is at, 57 is currently at $7. So that could complete the target and already break out if we get there, but we need to go beyond that. We need to go beyond that. We need to get into $10 and break out outside that. Yeah, unfortunately, there's nothing that tells me here that we can really break out from $10, apart from if we actually do it, and how big is the rejection after we get into $11 if we get there. So far, the trend says that we're gonna get rejected. The next one that got requested is Link, and we're almost about to run out of time. Link, you see, Link is the upside down with Aptos, right? We have this pattern on Link, more or less, not very perfect, but something like that. It's broadening, and it's higher highs and higher lows, and that's how you can at least look into getting higher. If you defend this trend and you continue to put higher highs, we're talking about over $30-40, more doable. And we don't have that challenge that we need to, for the first time, put a higher high. We already have it, and we are doing a double bottom with a higher low. So that's better pattern. We need now to break $17 to start potentially getting into 25 as a technical target into that order block in here. Then after that, if you observe the beginning of the previous bear market, we have resistance at 27 and then 32, and we have some extensions that are interesting in here. And again, I don't use these levels. Go away. We got this is wrong. So we already did this. Let's place it correctly. into the recent swing. Let's place it like that. Let's constrain it like this. So the extension of one puts us back into $33. That's just repeating that performance. And golden pocket is 1618, which you can meet at a timing of August 2026. I think there's not enough time to do that. In August, we should be deep in a bear market, at least if we keep repeating the patterns that we do every cycle. So I will go first with the 24 and see what happens at 32 without necessarily buying the 47 yet, because for that we really need, if we do it earlier, we meet with 37 and that's more doable. Let's say in October of $40 or December. To get 47 there, we need to actually break out of the pattern in a bullish way with this pattern, which is not necessarily something that I'm used to see, but sometimes it happens. It has happened in the past months with Bitcoin. I saw it, but in the lower time frame, in the 4 hour. On the weekly, crazy to do it on Link. All right, guys, I hope you enjoy all the live private TA. As an elite member, you can always join if you're watching this video on Friday, because it's going to go live for everybody. We edit the video. From 1 hour, it's going to go probably into 50 or 40 minutes, and we publish it to everybody to watch it. But if you want to request the coins that you want me to review, there's a link appearing in the screen at the moment, and there's another one in the description. It's all on my Patreon. Join as an elite. That definitely helps the channel. If you're a member, remember, next week we're going to have PineScript. So we're going to look into ideas. We already sent a post asking you for ideas for PineScripts, so we can do next week. If it's not next week, maybe I'm confused, but keep in mind that we are doing those sessions as well. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.